Hey everybody, Jason Mancuso and Anthony Butera of the Anthony Butera team and Keller Williams Realty.
How are you?
Welcome to the real estate show.
Yes.
You struggling over there?
My mic is drooping a little bit. Things droop as you get older, Jason.
Mm-hmm.
You ever brush your teeth without a shirt on
No.
in front of a mirror?
Oh yeah,
I wouldn't do. You do.
sure.
Yeah, the thing is, though, your hair covers any movement,
Yeah.
so that's not bad. You brushing your teeth shirtless in front of a mirror probably looks like a muskrat caught in a blanket.
Wrestling out of the blanket.
So what's going on?
You know, getting through the summer.
If you want to call it a summer.
Yeah, we'll be all right.
Nicest days have been, of course, on the weekdays, right? And then
Right.
I feel like there's been a case of the Sunday washouts. Last summer was awesome.
Well, July just sucked this year, right? Weather-wise.
Yeah.
All right, what are we doing talking about the weather?
I don't know. I thought we were meteorologists.
What's wrong with these guys? Piggyback off last week's episode, we talked about buying and some of the challenges and some of the things you can do. We wanted to kind of dive into a big but sensitive topic, I would call it, in terms of waiving a home inspection.
Yep.
5 years ago, this didn't exist.
I mean, honestly, 3 years ago,
Yeah.
I felt like we started to see it, right?
Exactly. So again, if 5 years ago literally did not exist, like unheard of. Like who the hell would waive a home inspection?
Now, what's unheard of is a buyer winning a multiple offer situation that asked for a home inspection. And it sucks. Trust me. I genuinely, I feel that no residential real estate transaction should be able to close without a home inspection. Okay. So we'll start there. I'm shocked the way things are today that the lenders are not mandating a New York State licensed home inspector to conduct an inspection before closing. And I say that because let's call it what it is. Most of these buyers today, especially first-time home buyers, they're dumping their life savings into closing cost and down payment, right?
Biggest financial transaction in somebody's life.
No doubt. So if they close on the property and they waive the inspection, and when they walk through the house, you didn't have access to the basement walls, maybe it's covered with insulation, or maybe they had a lot of stuff, and now you close on it, you move in, and you notice that the foundation's crumbling, right? So if the foundation's crumbling or caving in, that's going to be, I mean, to do it the right way, you're talking $25,000 to $35,000. They're digging around your house.
Tens of thousands of dollars.
They're bringing in temporary support to hold your house while they literally reblock your foundation. This is holding your home up, right?
Yeah.
Insurance covers 0.00 of that loss. They don't cover it. No insurance carrier is going to cover that. So what shocks me about the lenders not mandating it is if you close on that house as the consumer and your foundation is crumbling, are you going to pay the bank your mortgage payment, or are you going to pay for that repair to protect your family?
Sure.
Right. So that's why I feel that
tough.
it's crazy. And yet the banks won't let you, the banks won't give you a clean appraisal if you have some chipping paint on a window frame. Right. So it's weird.
And the point you're making, the bank has their, I guess their system of checks and balances through an appraisal. Right.
Yeah.
And they send an appraiser out there it's a licensed profession, but they're not home inspectors. Right.
Yep.
So they're I would say, without speaking for appraisers, but they're more in tune with market data and value relevancy in comparison to ins and outs of structure, et cetera, on a home itself, right? So an appraisal is done to really confirm the value that a buyer is offering to pay, and that the bank is then going to lend on. But also there is a kind of safety component in terms of the condition of the home mainly, right? So you mentioned chipping paint or handrails, stuff like that. Blatant health safety items will get flagged in an appraisal, depending on the loan product too. They're not home inspectors. So to your point, like, yeah, there's a major issue with the home. It's very likely to, get passed by on the appraisal. So it's not like the bank is protecting themselves based on the condition of the asset that they're funding for the homeowner, right? This is a shitty conversation because, when we're dealing with buyers, we have to advise them on, like, look, it's, I can't help the fact that there's 10 other buyers going after this house along with you. And unfortunately, the market plays out to where, because we get feedback, like, we're not just making this up and trying to position you to win and do something obnoxious. When we lose, we get feedback from the listing agent as representing a buyer to say, hey, where'd we stand? And trying to get into specifics. And in recent years, it's like, look, I had 10 offers. Yours was contingent on an inspection.
Yeah.
The other 9 weren't.
Yep.
And that's what it's progressed to.
Yeah.
And so, like, when we have to advise on this topic, it's not because we want you to. I've used this analogy before. It's like, if you want to make an offer that's the equivalent of betting on the Jets to win the Super Bowl, then yeah, you can go in heavy with contingencies and not a great number, not great finance, all the other aspects of a strong offer, right? Just aside from home inspections too.
We don't want this for you, but if you really want this house, you have no choice, unfortunately.
Yeah, you tell us how bad you want it, and then we can tell you what a strong offer looks like in today's market.
Yeah.
Now, the in today's market is always going to be the key, right? You can't be an agent in this business, and if the market changes, and say it's 5 years from now, and you're still operating the same way you were in 2020 and 2021, you're an asshole. Right?
Yeah.
So you got to adapt with it. You got to realize when there's opportunity. It's our job as agents to make sure, like, you're not just going in guns a-blazing with an offer with all these aggressive terms, and you're the only person at the dance, right?
Yeah.
That's just stupid, because that's the example where, you could have had the house at list price. You could have gotten an inspection done because the seller had nobody else to work with.
Sure.
So, it's very important to understand, like, A, we've got a job to do to, if you're telling us, hey, we love this home, we want it, tell us what we got to do. This is not what you have to do. But again, if you want to place your bet preseason going into the football season on the Bucks or whoever that's a strong team at, whatever odds compared to betting on the Jets.
Yeah.
Sorry to keep going football
You and your
around.
football analogies, man.
Fired up today. Preseason.
And I mean, let's be clear, right? Like, there's a ton of things that you can do to protect yourself from that catastrophe of, like, a foundation, for instance.
Yeah.
And I say foundation because I feel like most consumers can recover from a furnace that may have had a cracked heat exchanger, right? From mold in an attic, even like a roof, right? Like, it's not an emergency in most cases, but the importance of making the most out of your showing, like, yeah, I get it. You want to go and confirm that the house looks like the Pottery Barn photos. When I'm looking at a house that I'm interested in, I don't even go. I go right for the basement. Bring me to the belly of the beast.
And that's what I do too. If I'm showing a house to a client, it's like, look, you guys, do your thing. I'm gonna kind of not be silent, but I'm looking at, I hate to say the stuff that matters, right? But just like all the components of the home that actually do matter in comparison to the shade of paint that's on the wall or the
I don't care if the carpet matches the curtains. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I do. And I do care. So, it's key to have your agent be very analytical, very detailed in the showing with you so that you can try to pick together or pick apart these components that actually matter for the house.
Yeah.
So I break it down a simple list. Big ticket items, roof. And I mean, foundation is like, I'm glad you used that example because it's kind of like on the extreme end of things.
Yep.
And frankly, not that it can't happen at all because we've dealt with it, right? But it's more rare than not that a house has a foundation issue. Would you say that? Like, safety? I mean, we're talking
It's rare.
very low single-digit percentage. I mean, if there's even 1% of houses that would have a foundation issue.
Yeah.
Safe to say?
Yeah, 1%.
Okay. So, from there, and that, I guess on that topic, to wrap it up with foundations, like if you have a house with insulated walls in the basement or a finished basement, it doesn't matter if you got a home inspection or not. You're not going to be able to know what's behind that.
Sure.
So there's an element of risk involved no matter what, right? You just got to be okay with that
Yeah.
and know what to look for, knowing that. So from there, big ticket items, roof, siding, windows.
Yep.
In that order of expense, more or less, roof,
Yeah.
siding may be more expensive. Then from there, furnace, electric service. I don't even really put hot water heaters in that list because they're
You could still buy one for $500.
yeah, exactly. And they don't last very long anyway.
Yep.
What am I missing? Yeah, I mean, just obvious sloping of floors or things like stuff that you just see as structural. You'll know
sewer lines. If those
Sure.
are cracked between the house and the road, it's your responsibility. That can add up.
And that's something that you're generally not going to know either. I mean, there are some home inspectors that do a sewer scan. I would say that's more of a rare service that's offered than most.
What you can do is, and I've learned this recently, for literally like $2 or $3 more a month, you can add protection for that line from your house to the road by calling your insurance rep.
Yeah, sure.
And adding that on. I mean, it's $2 or $3. Yeah. When that thing goes, it's not just you digging that thing out. You're getting somebody out there with an excavator. Yeah. They got to dig that pipe out. You're talking $100 in material and
$2,000 job at least.
Minimum
right?
few. They got to bring equipment out, and they're gonna they're probably $7,000-8,000 because they got to destroy your yard to get the equipment there too.
How long of a stretch it is. Right?
Best foundation story ever. Dude I worked with, and he was like talented. He knew every industry. He could build a house from scratch, and I remember showing him houses, and it was the only thing he ever was concerned about was foundations. So whenever we would go to look at a house, he'd bring a roll of white tape and a razor knife, and we'd go in the basement because most of the basements have the insulation blanket, right? On one side's the fiberglass insulation, the other side's the white plastic blanket. He literally would take it, he would rip down the blanket to peek behind the insulation wrap, and then he would put the piece of white tape to repair what he did.
I love that move.
Neanderthal or genius, somewhere in between.
I love that move.
Yeah.
I love it.
He is a 315er.
So, to wrap this up, the only way we've been able to get to the point where we can sleep at night with these buyers waiving inspections, and again, please know, we'd rather this not be the case.
Sure.
We'd rather every house that gets an accepted offer on it have a home inspection.
And this is a temporary symptom of the market we're in.
True. The only way we can get to that point is by doing a deep analytical dive as an agent, while also, I hate to say it, CYA, cover your butt, right?
That doesn't make sense.
Cover your ass.
Okay. Well, you said shit 3 times. So I don't know why you weren't saying
I know.
this. Okay.
I don't know.
Sorry.
Kids are listening, right?
All right.
To at least go through the scope of those big ticket items visually from our experience standpoint, to say, hey, brand new roof, looks good from the outside too, don't really have anything to worry about there, let's budget for that 20 years out plus.
Yep.
Windows, they're older, you can live with old windows, right? Yep. Or if you want to upgrade and be more energy efficient, approximate this cost.
Yep.
Going down that list so that even if you do get an offer accepted with a home inspection contingency, right?
Yep.
You need to know these things before you pay somebody $500 to come in and tell you the same stuff.
Yeah.
And then I don't want to spend 10 grand on a roof in the next 3 years. This is all stuff that your agent needs to be advising you on, knowing that they're not a contractor, they're not a home inspector.
Yeah.
We do this at mass, and we're able to kind of, substitute that role as much as possible without, taking on the legalities, so to speak, of, advising as a home inspector, right?
Yep. And you got to prepare for. You have to anticipate repairs over time.
That's just it. Yeah.
Stay in your parents' basement, Trevor.
Well, it's just a matter of, you go into the biggest financial decision of your life with the okay and then what plan, right? And that's okay. I'm gonna need to do windows. My roof has about 5 years left on it. It doesn't make sense for you to dish out 10, 15 grand on a roof 5 years from now.
don't buy a house.
probably shouldn't be buying this house,
Yeah.
and I need to think in general about the concept as a whole.
Yeah. Or just reevaluate what's the most important. Make
Yeah.
sure that the roof is done and only look at houses with
Right.
roofs done in the last 5 years. But now you're narrowing your search in an already extremely challenging market, right?
Don't wing it. There's a way to be competitive without just totally taking on, a ton of risk by not being analytical.
Yeah.
Because also, earmuffs to the home inspectors out there, right? That these guys, the way their report reads, they have, their liability protection to say this is only an inspection. I was here on August 5th from 2 to 4 p.m.
Yeah.
It was cloudy outside, but not raining, so I don't know what happens when it's raining out. I
Yeah.
don't know what's between the walls. You're never going to know what's
And
going on with a house.
They're generalists. They're not an expert in any one field. Yeah.
Exactly. You may have some guys that were, in the electrician trade before that maybe they have more knowledge than the average home inspector on electrical services, but that doesn't mean that they're a HVAC tech, right? So it's just like, these guys are going into it, that profession, to give you a general snapshot of the condition and aspects of the home.
Yeah.
By no means is that a guarantee that, okay, this guy said my furnace 5 years old, should last 15 years. That doesn't mean that it's not going to shit the bed in 3 years.
It can go tomorrow or it could last 35 years, right?
Exactly.
I mean, you just never know.
Exactly. So it's a tough topic. We hate talking about it. We wanted to bring some clarity, to the conversation, just to, have everybody understand, why it's happening, why it's been happening, what, how did we get to this point, and how to handle it properly from there. So
Good advice.
good advice by you. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.